IIT Hyderabad Center. So because of the great personalities like Harjinder Singh sir, so we could be able to achieve this 75th webinar. So as mentioned already by Sangamkar sir that how we could be able to reach this stage, how we have started and all. I want to repeat sir. So I welcome all the senior IETians like Veerabhadra Rao, Vasudev Garu and Narasimhan Garu and all the senior corporate members who are the regular visitors and also all the students, faculty members and many personalities from other IET centers also who are regularly attending and encouraging us because with their support only we are able to reach this 75th figure. It's a platinum jubilee celebration we are celebrating. And we have, as mentioned by our Sangamkar sir, that we have tried to cover almost all the areas. And for covering such areas, really the credit goes to the webinar speakers. See, whenever we are trying to contact the webinar speaker, so the moment we say IET, so without asking any further questions, they said okay for such lessons because of the interest they have on IET and the IET institution for helping the IET members and students. So really, on behalf of all the webinar participants, all these 75 episodes you have conducted, I'm really thankful to all the webinar speakers. Because of your help, and we could be able to achieve this. So the credit goes to you. And even I thank all the students and participants also for the interest they have shown. Because most of the areas in the professional areas we have conducted, they have participated and well, they used to ask many questions and clarify their doubts in these professional topics we have covered. Really, I'm thankful also to the students and the faculty members and all the participants. So for this special occasion, so Harjinder Singh sir, he's a very senior person. He's our governing council member of IET and he has served more than 35 years in the defense area and also has been serving as a faculty in engineering colleges. So he himself has conducted 2 webinars. He has given a very good response was there. 3 webinars, I think so. And then we are really used to help us. Are very grateful to Harjinder Singh sir. We need your help like that only for continuing these things. So as mentioned by our Sangam sir, actually sir, to say one word, we were hesitating. So myself and our secretaries were hesitating when Sitaram Babu sir said that shall we go for every week. Then we got a bit doubt, sir. We said that okay, once in 2 weeks we or once in a month we planned. But Dr. Sitaram Babu sir was very keen that no, sir, definitely participants will come. The program will be very successful. It's so calculated that in the same way we could be able to succeed in these conducting every Sunday webinars. Some centers have tried, but they could not make it. So that is why I'm selling proudly. The credit goes to all the participants and the speakers only. So today, for this in this journey, our other than this thing, alumni of IET Hyderabad Center, Srinivas Godri Garu, is very experienced, more than 25 years of experience, sir, in this IT and ICT area. So already has given 1 webinar. And he's always with us when we said that, sir, can you come for this week? Then he said that for IET, though he has got very busy schedules, he said readily, okay for this webinar. And thankful to you, sir, on behalf of all the participants and our IET Hyderabad Center. Srinivas Garu, I welcome you and thank you. And I thank all the webinar participants once again for making this program very successful. I request all the participants, please suggest us in particular area which you are interested, because the speakers are ready, willing to give the presentation in whichever the area, because the credit goes to IET. The moment we say IET, they are very good people. Without expecting anything, they are coming forward and helping us. Please keep that in mind and give your suggestion, which area you are interested. So then we'll contact them, we'll take their help, we'll request them. Definitely they will come and give the webinar lecture in that area. So with this, I thank once again. So all the best, Sangam sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Ganeshwara Garu. Now it's a customary for us to read every time about the IET. Today our secretary is not here. He was having some other assignments. So in his absence, I am going to read about the IET, sir, though all of you know about it. The Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineers is India's leading recognized professional society devoted to the advancement of science and technology of electronics, telecommunication, and IT. Founded in 1953, the IET is the national apex professional body of electronics and telecommunication, computer science, and IT professionals. It serves more than 125,000 members, including corporate, student, and IS members, through various 63 centers spread all over India and abroad. The institution provides leadership in scientific and technical areas of direct importance to the national development and economy. Government of India has recognized IET as scientific and industrial research organization and also notified as the educational institution of national eminence. The objective of IET focus on advancing electro technology. The IET conducts and sponsors technical meetings, conferences, symposia, exhibitions all over India, publishes technical journals, and provides continuing education as well as career advancement opportunities to its members. The IET focuses on advancement of science and technology, of electronics, telecommunication, computers, and information technology and related areas. Towards this end, institution promotes and conducts basic engineering and continuing technical education programs for human resource development. IET conducts both graduateship, that is AMIT examination in electronics and telecommunication engineering, computer science, and engineering and information technology streams, and diploma examinations in electronics and telecommunication telecommunication and computer science and engineering streams. A pass in AMIT examination is recognized by the Government of India for the purpose of recruitment to the superior post and services under the central government, while pass in diploma level is recognized by the Ministry of HRD, Government of India, for the purpose of employment to the post and services under the central government in the appropriate field. So with this brief, now we take forward the session, and now I request our Technical Program Committee member, Dr. Narsimham, to introduce our today's chief guest. With this, over to Narsimham.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's already done. It can be treated as hard and listen. And
Yes,
yeah, but it is still our tradition.
Yeah.
To go ahead. Sir.
Yeah.
It is a great privilege for me to introduce Professor Harjinder Singh Bhatia ji. Is a product of Jabalpur University, Bachelor of Science in 1965 and Bachelor of Engineering Science in 1968 in telecommunication. And he did his MTech from IIT Delhi in radar and communication engineering. He served Electronics and Radar Development Establishment LRDE, DRDO Bangalore for 35 years and contributed significantly in design and development of many technology-rich radar systems for armed forces, such as first ever indigenous design development of pulse compression based naval surveillance radar, dual frequency naval tracking radar for tracking of sea skimming, missiles against sea clutter and maintain multipath adversaries, 3D central acquisition radar, multimode radar for LCA. After retirement in June 2004, he was professor and HOD in KNSIT Bangalore for 10 years. He also discharged the duties of the principal beside normal duties. He took the responsibilities of conducting FDPs, SDPs, including soft skill training program for empowering them for enhanced productivity. He is an active member of a large number of professional bodies such as IETE, IEEE, ISOA, ISSS, SEE, IMAPS India. He was the honorary secretary of IETE Bangalore Center for the 2 terms and the chairman 2018 and 20. Under his dynamic and able leadership and dedication, IETE Bangalore Center bagged Best Center Award for 3 years in succession in 2017-18, second Best Center 2018-19, and Best Center Award in the year 2019 and 20. Presently, he is the chairman of the International Microelectronics and Packing Society, IMAPS India chapter, and immediate past chairman in IIT Bangalore and former chairman of Institute of Defense Scientists and Technologies, Bangalore region. He is actively involved in socio-religious and professional ventures of human personality development programs organized by pioneer inter-religious groups and forums, and also very active in IXF activities of various academic institutes in and around Bangalore. His present area of interest is in emerging technologies such as RF MEMS, MMICs for RF front ends, LPI radars,
electronic intelligence for electronics warfare applications and smart IoT technologies. Thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Virjaji. Thank you very much for introducing. Maybe this may be useful for the student community who is attending this, and they can always look back to me if, in case they need any of these domains, any help and other things. From that perspective, I think it was good to you to introduce to the audience.
Thank you, Dr. Narasimham. Now, sir, IIT Hyderabad releases bi-monthly IIT journal.
Yeah.
So I request our chief guest, today's chief guest, Professor Harjinder Singh Bhatia, to release this newsletter online.
Yeah,
I think
I'll do that.
Devraj, you can help.
One of you can say about what it contains in this issue, and then I will say formally it is.
Yeah, it will be.
Released. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Here it comes. Yes.
Sir, this is generally, sir, this bi-monthly newsletter after we took over, we started this to inform all the corporate members what exactly the IIT Hyderabad Center is doing. What are the seminars, webinars, workshops, what the center is conducting, how we are getting associated with the students and the corporate members. So about this and our plans, this shows with all the photographs. Many events, physical also we are working, we are doing at our IIT Hyderabad Center, like repairs or carrying out the cleanliness, whatever the things, administrative things also there, everything will be informing through this webinar, through this newsletter, sir, IIT newsletter. So this only to get informed to the activities of the IIT Hyderabad Center to the corporate members. So that is the idea for this, sir.
Dhaneshwar sir, unmute.
This is unmuted, no? It is. Is it?
Okay. Okay. Everybody has seen that. Every one of us we have seen that.
Yes, sir.
It's my pleasure and honor to, as it is already every one of us we have seen what it contains, what is this magazine. I declare it so-called released, this 8th volume of IIT. Let us give a big hands and claps to all the team who is working at Hyderabad. And I normally say IIT Hyderabad is a Hirdaya Abad of IIT. Hirdaya, heart. Yes. Very nice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
I think, and I also urge all of you to just come forward to give them little articles and a good, create some good activities and other things from your end so that those can be reflected and brought to the whole IIT community. That will be a great service towards the IIT in general and particular to the IIT Hyderabad Center. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity to just release this on a very auspicious day when we are celebrating Platinum Jubilee webinar of IIT Hyderabad with 45 knowledge sharing sessions and 75th of the webinar as on today.
Sir, I would like to add
and
one
point I wanted to mention at this point is, which is very important, because when Ganesh Rao was talking about how could we really achieve this, you know, we are actually following the motto of our IIT that what we say, Sahaviram Karvave. It is a teamwork which has been doing, and it is always the great things can be achieved when we are together. That is there. And second is the other thing which Sitaram Babu brought it, declare it and deliver it. He declared that every week we'll have it, and that is consistently working on that and delivering it. And that's where we are getting the success. And that's why we are today having this Platinum Jubilee so-called webinar coming from IIT Hyderabad. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. With this release
Sir, 1 second, sir. 1 second. Sangamkar sir.
Yeah,
it's a success of the entire team, sir.
That's what I'm saying. And Sahaviram Karvavai. That's what I'm saying.
But the team is, every member has made the effort.
Yes,
the other thing, sir, we are just short of 3, sir, to reach the maximum, sir. Now we are 96, 97, the number of participants.
Limitation is for 100 members only can participate in this. That is what I was trying to tell. We are
so from this platform, I would like to inform the honorable participants, if anybody is interested in writing the article for our this news run, so please give in whichever the area you're interested, which are useful to our IIT students and the corporate members.
Yeah. And we at Bangalore also we had started, and I mean it is going on. You all know that, and there we are putting small articles also.
Yes.
With the emerging technology in the capsule form, we are putting it.
Yes.
Thank you for the release of the newsletter. Now I request our today's chief guest, Professor Harjinder Singh Bhatia, to deliver his address.
No, I have already said few words. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
is
I
really
was just
important.
about.
That IIT Hriday, Hyderabad is very close to my Hriday, my heart. There's no doubt about it. And that's why I call IIT Hyderabad as Hridayabad. The blooming Hriday, the heart coming this one. And you people are doing very, very good work. And I feel, I pray God, your efforts can further bring as much as possible to a scientific community or the engineering community, whether they are students or whether this one. And this way, especially these knowledge sharing sessions are very important, very, very important. Because most of our students, they are budding engineers for the tomorrow, they don't have exposure to the industry. They are not directly connected with so-called our professional bodies, because what normally we say is the technical education is not confined to the four walls of engineering college. There you can talk about technology, but engineering is when you actually work and make a product out of that technology. And that to get prepared for that, it is very, very important that student community should get connected with the professional bodies, the people who are experienced that. And this will bridge the gap and give them a readiness and that. And there, this knowledge sharing sessions, what we have started, and hats up to you for continuing consistently and other things. And that is going a very long way, especially for the student community and all of us who have really had the experience in working and other things, sharing in other domain. We become aware of other domains which are today. Today we cannot talk that we specific to one technology and other thing. We need to be the master of, if not a master, at least we should have the base knowledge of all the technology. Definitely some verticals have to be there. And these webinars and knowledge sharing sessions are doing a great job in this. I would like to congratulate all of you for that and keep doing good work. We are all with you. What best can come from the people like me, you can be assured you don't have to look back. Thank you very much for giving this.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our Executive Council member, Chairman, Women's Empowerment Committee, P. Sandhya, to introduce our today's speaker, Srinivasu Gorti, Director Akshara. Director Akshara Enterprises India Private Limited. Please introduce.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Thank
100,
you,
sir.
sir.
Sangamkar, sir, 100.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, sir, yes,
that
sir.
is good.
Yes, sir. It has reached 100.
If it is not getting converted, someone of us can log into 2 devices. Make it 100.
No, sir. No, only single device. All of us are 100.
Yeah. I understood.
Many times I failed to log in because
No proxy allowed. No proxy allowed.
I could not log in because it has crossed 100 limit. Sometimes it has happened, sir.
I see.
Yeah, very good morning, respected chief guest, Professor Harjinder Singh Garu, and all the IIT members. Welcome you all. I take the privilege to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Srinivasu Gorti Garu, Technical Director with an entrepreneurial spirit who leads organizations to grow and market differentiation with a record of generating new revenue opportunities, well-rounded technocraft with a broad understanding of business development, technical consulting with a profit and loss P&L orientation, performance-oriented ICT professional with over 25 years of exposure in manufacturing, R&D, defense, government, BFSI, retail, and travel, transport, logistics verticals, contributes to the overall commercial strategy with a proactive accountability in managing organizational leadership, business units. Sir Jayadeva, sir, can you please mute yourself? Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, some dog is looking for the entry. We can gracefully deny that. The door is closed. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So somebody can mute that. We are from.
Yeah, yes, I have muted him.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you and sorry for the inconvenience.
No.
Yeah, Srinivas Garu is overall commercial strategy with the proactive accountability in managing organizational leadership, business units, teams, SI business, and technical solution design within high growth categories. Leads to organizations in defining, developing, and executing long term excellence. And key differentiators are sound knowledge on diverse ICT solutions, deep exposure on ICT infrastructure management services, sound experience of implementing critical ICT solutions like data center, DR, data replication, campus networks, and WAN, HPC systems, AVSI, etc. And IT infra service delivery experience in BFSI, manufacturing, and defense verticals. Led a team of 800 plus knowledge professionals and aligned them towards organizational mission and vision. And Srinivas Garu recognized as a top performer by various business units and by CEO as future leader. So with this brief introduction, I'll hand over the session back to Sangamkar sir, Vice Chairman. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sandhya. And today's topic, that secure software-defined area network, is very, very important, not only for the defense, but to the banking system, financial sector, and to everyone today. Whoever is keeping that digital locker, the data, and all those things. I think it is going to benefit each and everyone. And that is how the attendance is also large today. Perhaps they have shown this much good interest. And with this, I request now Dr. Srinivas Gourti Garu to deliver your lecture.
Congratulations, Srinivas Garu. 100 figure it has touched.
Good to see that, sir. Good to see that.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
Bhatia sir has logged in with three devices. He is doing 100.
Yeah. So, good morning, sir. Good morning to all of you. Good morning to all the participants. In fact, it is really very, very interesting and then excited to be always part of any event that happens with IET. In fact, I also keep attending many sessions whenever time permits. In fact, I really see this initiative is very consistent for quite some time. And the way I am also associated with IET, I feel that when last week they have mentioned about a topic to be taken, I thought for a while and then found that for many of those students, because in the last 20-25 plus years, I have been associated with various industries and then various projects. What typically I see is when we look at the students who are coming out of either engineering colleges or from the college education, always because I was also part of many HR initiatives while at the time of recruitment and then various campus drives when we conduct, we keep noticing a lot of, as our Chief Guest Sir Harjinder Singh Sir also mentioned, we keep seeing that there is a lot of gap between the academic program, what they do during that 4 years or whatever time period they do. And once they come out, when they get into the industry, there are a lot of disconnects what we keep seeing is. But there are some smart students who try to bridge that gap as far as possible in their fourth year and then third year, fourth year courses. That's where we are able to clearly differentiate at the time of campus drives and other things when we do. So what I feel is if I choose a topic which is going to be very, very emerging and then very hot in the sense, definitely it is by the time you people come out of your college. So these kind of technologies will be well established in the market, and then they are all basically a lot of emergence and a lot of evolving nature is there in these kind of technologies. So I thought if we have a brief discussion about one of those topics, it will be relevant and useful for many of the students. And I'm sure in many branches like electronics, computer science, or even many branches, your communications, your networking is one of the prominent subject for you to cover. So probably this topic will add a little bit of value to the existing courses, whatever you have been undergoing, as well as it gives some kind of an industry flavor, what kind of trends and then the emergence that is happening in these kind of technologies. So it will be of definitely some relevance and importance for you. So you please listen to this, and then at the end of the session, probably if you have any clarifications, you can always ask. And this topic, software-defined networking, wide area networking, is basically, it has got a lot of depth into that. Though practically it cannot be covered in such a short span of time. So I'm trying to cover some of the important points, some certain features, certain know-how about this. And probably if time permits, and then if it is relevant for the people, probably we can try to have a part 2 of this session where we slightly deep dive into more points, and then we can take it as a part 2. There is a brief introduction about this. Then this will share my presentation screen. Is my screen visible to all?
Yes. Yes, it is visible.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah, sure, sir. Thank you. Yeah, sure. So before getting into a software-defined wide area network, let us try to understand what is a WAN, wide area network. Typically, in many organizations, many academic institutes, everywhere we see that all these computers are interconnected for the communication, because gone are those days where computers used to work in silos. So they are all networked, so they communicate with each other. That is how the communication gets established. And a traditional WAN, typically we categorize networks as 2 broad categories. One is called LAN, local area network. Second is called wide area network. As the name implies, local area network is basically confined within a shorter geography, within a building, within a campus, within a room. So within a short geography, if it is confined, it is called as a local area network. When the network gets extended to a large geography, to different cities, to different countries, even to different probably globes, we call. Now we are communicating with various objects even outside the Earth atmosphere. So they are all coming under.
Sorry for that. Make it full screen, sir. Slideshow, you can make it so that.
Yeah, I think it is in the. Is it not appearing as a full screen?
No, sir. No, sir.
Please press F5, sir.
F5.
Yeah. Is it coming, sir, now?
No, sir.
But we can manage, no problem.
Yeah, I think I'm not seeing any other option.
Down, sir. Beside Zoom option, there is a small icon, sir. You can click on that, sir. Slideshow. Down, right side down. Bottom. Or else proceed, sir. No issue, not an issue.
Okay.
Thank you.
So a traditional WAN, its basic purpose is to connect the users from various parts of the geography to their destination. That is, either it could be a branch, or it could be a campus, or it could be a hosted application running in some cloud, or it could be running in some data center. So that is the purpose of a WAN. So we have one application running at a place, and that application needs to be accessed by various users spread across various geographies. So that is the purpose of a traditional WAN. Now, for a business networks, for an enterprise, for commercial applications, for applications like BFSI, banking and financial sector, manufacturing, all the commercial applications, typically to get connected for this WAN, earlier they used to use point-to-point dedicated leased lines. And then subsequently, there is a concept of MPLS leased circuits which have come into picture. They improve the reliability of the network communication in a much better way than the traditional point-to-point internet networks. So these MPLS networks from various offices get connected, and that will give the connectivity to access their centralized applications. For example, if there is a bank which is having a core banking application, So even public from various places, even all the branches across the country, they get connected to their data center and then post their data centrally, which is there in the data center. So all these branches get connected to their headquarters or to the data center using various connectivity mechanisms, out of which MPLS is one of the popular leased line network which get connected to all these places. Now, this is the traditional way of WAN network, wide area network, how they get connected. Now, these WANs are there in the existence for so many years, for more than 30, 40 years. Even before that, people have different connectivity mechanism to get connected. Now, what is happening is, especially in the last 5 to 10 years time, there is a lot of change the way we access our applications, especially because of the advent of very data hungry applications, and then maybe large cloud adoption, which is happening across the globe. The way we get connected, there is a lot of change that is happening. The traditional way of using leased lines, MPLS networks, we are not able to access with a large, we are not able to pump a large volume of data or transfer large volume of data over these WANs from multiple sites. When there are organizations, global organizations, where the connectivity will be over more than thousands of the branches will get connected to their centralized data center. That is how practically it happens. Now, when every branch wants to communicate with GBs of data, practically these traditional leased lines, which have got a limitation in their data transfer capability, there is a limitation to grow beyond that. So even with the adoption of cloud, people are able to access from once the application is hosted in a cloud, people anywhere from the globe are able to access this application and then get connected on this. Now, with this advent of these data changes and then access mechanisms which are happening, the traditional WANs have got a lot of limitation in terms of their performance, in terms of their fault management, that is troubleshooting. We also remember, because I was there in building many WANs, traditional WANs for many banks, for many defense organizations in probably 15, 20 years back. At the time when we were implementing, even some time back, even now, people who maintain these WANs will experience this kind of problem. The troubleshooting of these WANs becomes typically very complex when there is an issue with the connectivity in between certain routers, certain networks, when they go down. The way they come up, the way again the connectivity gets established, all those things will take. We also keep hearing many news globally, the way things are going down. So now with this advent of these changes in the access mechanism, now the traditional way of WANs, there is a limitation for that. That is where the concepts of SD-WAN come into picture, and that is where it adds a value significantly in terms of improving the reliability of the connectivity mechanism, scalability in the sense, even if large volumes of data are pumped from multiple locations, the way the data centers and applications can handle the data, there is a tremendous improvement in the approach. So that SD-WAN basically, as the name indicates, it is a software-defined approach for managing and implementing.
Excuse me, sir. Sorry to disturb you, sir. Slides are not moving. Actually, please check.
Yeah, sure, sir. It is still there in the first slide only. I'll just
first slide only.
Yeah, it is still in the first slide.
Fine, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, now it is the second slide, sir. Is it visible now?
No.
Not in second slide, sir. Only still
No, sir.
It is in the first slide only.
It is in the first slide only. 1 minute, sir.
దేవయ్య
సార్
ఎవరు చెప్పు ఎట్లానో కొంచెం కొన్ని సార్కి ఐడియా లేదు.
చెప్తాను. నో సార్ ఇప్పుడు ఆల్రెడీ డెమో తీసుకున్నాను సార్, ఓకే అన్నాడు.
1 minute.
Click on entire screen, sir.
Yeah, I'm just taking entire screen.
Then press F5, sir, for slideshow. F5 press, okay.
Yeah, now it is.
Yeah, is it visible, sir, now?
Right, sir. Now it is okay, sir.
Visible and it is
okay.
Yeah.
Full screen and everything is okay, sir. Please, thank you.
Yeah. So now I am in the second screen, sir. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Please.
Yes, sir.
Sure. So yeah, now we are talking about a software-defined wide area network. So So as the name implies, a typical WAN earlier for so many decades or 20, 30 years time periods, the WAN basically it comprises of connectivity links, that is your leased lines, your telecom links, and then devices called routers and switches. So this is what will constitute a typical wide area network. The routers are basically hardware devices. It is like there is a device where there is a firmware, there is a OS which is embedded into that, and these routers are spread across the internet, across the globe, across various organizations, and they enable the routing of the information from one side to another side. So they are all typically hardware devices. Now, as we have seen certain challenges with the traditional approach of WAN. Now, software-defined WAN, what it will do is basically it will enable that flexibility. The moment anything which can be defined through software, like we write a program, we have a lot of flexibility in the program. We define what are the objectives of the program, what the program has to do. Everything we can, by coding, we can define what is the outcome of the program. That means anything which you enable with a software-defined approach, you have a lot of flexibility to define that. So how much bandwidth to handle, how to handle the bandwidth, what traffic, where to route, all those things, it is very easy to manage through a software-defined approach. And a traditional WANs, usually to manage that, everybody requires a lot of expertise and then deep knowledge in terms of network administration, troubleshooting, managing how the router works, router commands. It requires a lot of extensive knowledge and experience to handle the networks. So when it is software defined, when the approach of software defined is added to the WAN, now the management becomes relatively easy. Even a user with a minimal networking background will be able to manage his own network and will be able to troubleshoot his network, and then will be able to maintain his day-to-day operations. That is the flexibility it is bringing it to the market. That is why that is one of the major reason why it is so popular. And probably next 5 to 10 years down the line, we don't get surprised that commercially every organization in the world, in many countries, already we have been seeing this adoption of this software-defined WAN in many countries, US, Europe, even Asia, Middle East. Everywhere there is many organizations are moving. We are sure that SD-WAN will no longer become a emerging technology. It will become a industry standard default WAN. The way we are tracking it as a WAN now, SD-WAN will become the standard connectivity mechanism for across the organization. Now, when we get into the concept, within SD-WAN, how it what are the prominent features, why it is becoming so popular, and then what advantages we get. Everything happens on the roadside, and then people laying the fiber cable, and then that is how entire city or various towns, cities, and then countries are connected. Now, during this process, as they are all laid on the public roads, a lot of disturbances keep happening to the cabling. Sometimes some cable get disconnected, then the routing gets diverted through an alternate route. At that time, we see a lot of performance variations for the link access. Even during these kind of webinars also, we keep seeing some people, when the internet connectivity is not proper, they may not see the video and then listen the audio very clearly. Sometimes there could be some disturbances. That is all because of the connectivity disturbances. So those kind of things keep happening. Now, in a commercial network, assume there is a banking application or a manufacturing MES, manufacturing execution system, where many production units across the country get connected to a production site, and then they do a production process, the monitoring, and then various activities. At that time, because of the link quality or link issues, if there is a data interruption, that is not the business, certain applications will not be able to sustain such quality issues. That is, irrespective of the link quality issues, applications should be continuously accessible, and we should be able to perform our operations. So that is the feature that SD-WAN brings. How it brings, that we will see in the subsequent slides. But broadly, when we see the functionality of this. You are able to do a routing of your data from one site to another site. It's based on the link quality. That is, here if you see in this diagram, there is a branch office which is there, and there are various telecom lines which are connected to this branch. Using these various links, they are able to access various applications. Application which is hosted in the data center, application which is there in cloud. It could be a SaaS application like Salesforce or Office 365, and it could be a public cloud or which is hosted in Amazon, which is hosted in Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud, wherever it is. So typically nowadays, any large enterprise will have applications to access from diverse sources. They may have to access from their data centers, they may have to access from cloud, they may have to access from various sources. That is how the connectivity mechanism happens. Now, this SD-WAN, what the kind of functionality it brings, you may have one link coming from 3G, 4G, that is your LTE connectivity. It could be a broadband connectivity, it could be a lease line, it could be an MPLS, it could be a point-to-point connectivity, it could be a RF line from one place to another place. The connectivity, the transport mechanism can be anything. SD-WAN will be able to virtualize across all the links, and then it will make it as a single trunk to this particular branch. Now, this branch will see that though it has got 4 different lines terminated on it, it will only see that it has got one large pipe. For example, this MPLS link could be 2 Mbps line, your broadband could be a 50 Mbps broadband, your 4G can be another 30 Mbps line. Now, this branch will see an aggregated bandwidth of all these 3 things, and then see this as one large pipe that is available to us. Now, the advantage is it is able to pump large volume of data across all these lines, and the SD-WAN device which is there at this place as well as at the destination, it will take care of the aggregation of all the links, pumping this into a single stream, and then send it to the destination. That is one part of it. Second is, for example, this branch is trying to access. It has got a lot of users which are there in this branch. There are certain users who are accessing some business critical applications from their data center. Certain users, they are accessing some social media like Facebook or Twitter or something like that, YouTube. Certain people are just browsing internet for some which is not critical basically. Or certain people are using video conference and audio conference applications. Now, we can also, based on the link quality, that is when the data is moving, and if this SD-WAN device, if it notices that one of the particular link has got a performance issues, its performance is not good, it is not, it is having some latency issues, then it will not traffic, it will not route the critical data through the particular link. Instead, it will route the traffic through one of the available high quality, highly available link. So it has got the intelligence to distinguish among the terminated links, which link has got a better destination reach. Though all of them are destined to be a same place, but among all these links, it will because they are all coming from different sources. Maybe one link could be from BS through alternate available link. Now, this device has got the ability to sense the link quality of all these links, and whichever link has got better performance and clean pipe from source to destination, it will route the traffic through that link for all the critical applications. So user has got that flexibility to define. So what kind of my this particular video conference application is very critical, because video conference and audio conference, they are continuously streaming applications. You cannot afford to have some kind of a packet loss or some kind of a interruption on the way for this. The moment it is interrupted, you lose the data. Whereas when you browse an internet, even if there is some small interruption, we don't experience that difference, because that is a text. You are browsing the content, and then even if there is few milliseconds gap, still you continue to browse. You may not find a big gap. So especially for those applications which are time sensitive, maybe you are accessing a online banking transaction, you are transferring money from one account to another account. So in between, if there is a disturbance to the link, now the transaction gets disturbed, it gets disconnected. So for those kind of applications, user has got the flexibility. he can define saying that my particular video conference application always has to go through this particular MPLS, which is always reliable. So, and other data can go routed through other links. That is how you will have the flexibility to define. That is called quality of service. Basically, this in the industry language, this particular definition of application routing is called quality of service. So you can define quality of service parameters with which the traffic gets routed through the available links. That is one of the main use case where SD-WAN gets deployed. The second parameter is maintain high availability of business critical applications. Now that you have all the 4 links available and you are pumping the data at the speed of say 100 Mbps speed across all the 4 links, assume that there is a failure of one of the link that happens. Now, still you continue to send the data, you continue to communicate, you continue to do video conferencing through the available other 3 links, because that interruption will not be even known to the application to the end users at both the sides. Without even the end user being aware, the rest of the traffic gets automatically distributed across the available other 3 links. Whereas earlier in the traditional WAN scenario, when you have multiple links, you need to define a lot of policies, and then sometimes even earlier days, we used to see that the switchover from one link to another link, from one service provider to another service provider, there used some minimum time lag. For example, I have 2 lease lines, one coming from BSNL, another coming from say Tata or Reliance. Now, for some reasons, my BSNL link fails. Now, my traffic has to get routed automatically through the other available link. But the transition time used to take some few milliseconds or some minimum time of interruption to switch over to the other site. So during the time, there are some time-sensitive applications which may miss some data, the sessions may get dropped. There could be some challenges like used to come up. Now, with this approach, with the software-defined WAN approach, the transition is so smooth that irrespective of even out of these 3 links, 4 links, even if 3 link fails, there could be some degradation in the performance of the link. But as far as your continuity of the application, because they are all software defined, they talk to the applications well. They understand the application both at source as well as destination. They know that this is a banking application or this is a video conferencing application. They are application aware communication tools. So even if the performance, maybe data communication may happen at a slow pace, but the continuity as far as possible gets maintained. So you feel a lot of relatively a better connectivity, better smooth transition when the links fails from one place to another place. So that is the high availability gets maintained across multiple links. In fact, this is one of the most desirable use case or need for many organizations. When we work on mission critical applications like certain SCADA applications, even power transmission, power generation organizations, that is how we keep seeing the need for those organizations. When we go on, when we discuss this concept with those organizations, the kind of interest and then the way people get adapted to this is predominantly because of these reasons. Because they are all widely connected across different geographies and they don't know about what is happening in the transition. That is from the telecom side, from the link side, all those things people may not be aware. If there is a link fails, troubleshooting that, calling the respective service provider, getting it repaired, and then again communicating, all those things are now in the current context, we are not in a position to afford to such a kind of a delays. So this SD-WAN concept will enable that smooth transition and a continuous connectivity as well as high availability for the business applications from source to destination, irrespective of the failures that happens in between. And then third point is best effort for low priority applications through low cost links. Now, sometimes in an organization, there are many users during lunchtime or during off office hours. They tend to do a lot of browsing, just general browsing, and then some social media, some video, some YouTube videos, seeing all those things happens actually. They may not be productive for the organization, but for encouraging the employees, for them to give the facility, they still keep giving the internet. And then even this device will be able to identify traffic, non-productive applications through the low-cost links. Because for the organization, even commercially cost also matters. When we take multiple lease lines, there is cost associated with that. So MPLS links used to, even now they are relatively costly because they used to cost in lakhs. When we take a rental from the service providers, this 5 Mbps, 10 Mbps, 30 Mbps, 40 Mbps, all those bandwidth for MPLS costs. Whereas broadband is relatively cheaper. So as you know, for all the households, whatever we access, we are able to pay a monthly nominal fees of some 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, and then get a very high bandwidth using broadband. But though bandwidth is high with broadband, the reliability factor, the commitment levels are not that high like the way MPLS and other point-to-point digital lines give. Because this broadband is basically a public, multiple people access that, and there is no bandwidth reservation that happens. It is a pool of bandwidth which is getting shared by multiple people. And the link connectivity also, it more or less mostly comes through a single channel. If there is a connectivity fails, you have to report this problem to your service provider. He has to come and repair this and then make it up. Now, the link availability, that is the connectivity availability to the internet as well as to the data center as well as business network, that is a prime requirement for many organizations across the globe. That is what is driving this SD-WAN adoption. To a very, very rapid rate. Because I have seen many technologies in the last 20-25 years which is very rapid, but the pace at which this is getting rapid is too high. Probably within the last 3-4 years in India, I myself have seen more than 150 wide area networks which are getting migrated from traditional WAN to the SD-WAN, predominantly because of these enhanced significant features. Because every organization wanted to have a continuous connectivity without any interruptions. They should get connected, and irrespective of the underlying lines which are there, like the 4G network, it may not be highly reliable in certain geographies. As you know, across the state, the connectivity of 4G may not be same. Maybe in cities, the signal strength high. Maybe the moment you go to the rural areas, signal strength may not be that good there. So SD-WAN has got another significant use case. Now, many businesses like e-commerce applications, take the examples of your Amazon and Flipkart kind of things. Now, many people even in the rural areas are able to access this and do online ordering, do online shopping, and doing all those activities. Now, the importance of connectivity is even becoming important even at the rural areas. Because of these last 2 years of this pandemic, we have seen many students, even they are getting online education from their villages and then their native places. So at this place, the connectivity is really, probably this pandemic has really shown us, saying that how resilient we should be, and irrespective of the disasters that happens in the society, what way we should really be adapting to the new technologies so that we are always able to achieve the same service delivery irrespective of the geography, not only in cities, even towns in rural areas. All the areas will be able to activity or link in rural areas, rural shopping shops, even some of the agricultural societies are in health centers. We have seen certain governments, and we worked with a few state governments in the country, like government of in Telangana, Madhya Pradesh, few states when we work. We have seen another significant area of application of this is in the health sector. Because we have primary health centers and then a lot of healthcare centers available in the rural areas, where governments are trying to impart some kind of a healthcare basic facilities even at the rural areas so that the basic amenities can be attained. Now, applications like telemedicine and video consulting, where we have implemented certain projects in certain states, we have seen a significant advantage of this SD-WAN in those areas, where the patients which are there in very nook and corners of the states, very remote areas. So when they are able to comfortably get connected to a specialized doctor and then take the advice, even there are certain medical diagnostics available remotely, where certain preliminary diagnostics can be remotely taken by the medical consultant doctor, and then he will be able to properly advise for some of the basic ailments or for certain basic problems. We have seen the applications of this SD-WAN in those, even at those rural areas, where people can take a broadband connectivity from one source. A 4G can be from 2-3 different 4Gs. One from different service providers, like again BSNL, Idea, Airtel. So all those multiple 2-3 SIMs you can club into a single SD-WAN router and then get connected to their business critical application. Now, what happens is even if certain service provider telecom links are weak or down, still you are able to efficiently get communicated to the destination without any issues. That is the kind of flexibility that it brings. Basically, in nutshell, you are able to virtualize multiple physical links into a single link. That is the advantage you are able to gain at this place. Now, what is secure SD-WAN? We have seen SD-WAN, software-defined WAN, which is enhancing the connectivity from source to destination, which is irrespective of the underlying transport layers which are there. It is able to give a reliable connectivity. Now, it is when the applications are getting enabled on cloud, internet. Now, just having a connectivity from source to destination, then the kind of hacking and then the kind of exploits which are happening across the globe. The way technology is growing equally on the opposite side, people have to be very clear and aware of the security consciousness. Otherwise, just implementing technology will not serve the business purposes, because it takes no time for the entire their systems and services to go down. Even we have seen the largest giants like Facebook and other people are also are down some time back for some time. Even this is quite common, which is happening in many places. The largest so-called very reliable systems are also going down, where people are not able to access this for some time. So the security is definitely one of the important point to consider. Now, the secure SD-WAN is basically combining both security features as well as the connectivity features into a single solution, and then able to deliver secure SD-WAN, which is the transition, or which is the development which is happening from the evolution of SD-WAN. Probably 5 years back, when we have seen SD-WAN as a connectivity, it was merely seen from the connectivity point of view. How we should establish highly reliable, secure, highly reliable, and then high performance network. That was the initial motto of putting up the SD-WAN. But as the time as the time has elapsed, so people have also identified, saying that we have to add security layer to that, so that it becomes a complete secure connectivity we are able to establish across all the places. NGFW is next generation firewall, which we typically hear. So security and connectivity features, when they are added, it becomes a secure SD-WAN. So it has got a security for the data. That is, the data which is flowing through the network gets secured. So you will have an end-to-end encryption that happens. There are various other mechanisms which we will see in the subsequent slides, what way information gets secured in the SD-WAN environment. And also the management, as we have discussed some time back. It is not only that when we migrate to the latest technologies, it should also give us the easy management. The earlier networks, to implement this, to apply this, to maintain this, one needs to have a lot of knowledge, and then only experienced people used to maintain that. Now, when it comes to the SD-WAN, when it has to be deployed, because of this software-defined nature for this WAN, it is very easy to deploy and manage. This is called zero-touch deployment. Now, there are facilities available where this entire SD-WAN can be deployed across thousands of branches. Sitting at a central place, just with zero touch in the sense, without even doing anything, any local activity at the branch side. Just connect the box, and then all the configuration can happen from there. Basically, you are able to create a virtual tunnel where the user fields, or it creates a virtual private network, virtual network between source to destination. Usually, when we access information on internet, that is accessible to everybody. For example, I am getting connected to a broadband from my house, and I try to access some website. Now, whatever I browse, everybody in the world can see what I am doing it. Because it is open to everybody. Internet, that is how it got connected. Now, when I browse the same site using VPN, now I only be able to see the website. Nobody will watch a tunnel between source to destination in the public cloud, in the public internet. And then link load balancing, that also we have seen how it works. There are multiple links, and then the load, the data gets distributed across multiple links, so that we are able to efficiently utilize multiple links. Even this is an advantage for many large PSUs and then various government organizations. Earlier, even all of us know that many organizations will have for internet. Every organization pays money for both the links. Every month, every year, you have to pay the rental charges for the telecom service providers for both the links. You have to whatever link you have, every link, whether you use it or not, you have to pay the amount. Like the way we take a telephone line, you have to pay every month minimum rental charges for that. Whether you use it or not, you have to pay the rentals. Now, when it comes to leased lines, the cost is relatively higher. Whereas with the link load balancing feature of SD-WAN, you are able to actively distribute load between both the lights, both the links, so that you are able to better utilize for the money what you pay. Though you are paying money for both the links, you are able to utilize them in a proper way. That is one of the useful feature which many organizations find at a very basic level. And we have seen a link quality status check. That is, it is able to see the quality of link and then accordingly route the traffic through the best available link. And also it has got the ability to see what kind of packet loss which is happening, what kind of latency which is there, and whether there is any jitter in the network. All those parameters, it has got the ability to sense in a network path, and then accordingly route the traffic through those places. And they are very important parameters, because the earlier traditional WANs and then networks does not have the capability to look into the depth of these kind of parameters in the network link. They will only see whether link is up and down. If link is down, they route through the alternate link. If link is up, they will send. Whereas when the link is up, the efficiency may be 70%, or it could be even 10% sometimes, because if the link quality is too poor, but still traditional WAN will not know that the link quality is too poor. It will only say that yes, link is up, let me send the data. That's all. It will only keep sending. Ultimately, the data may not reach the destination in a proper time. It takes a lot of retransmissions, because when the packet is lost on the way, again the packet need to be retransmitted. These kind of retransmissions, the inefficiency gets with this concept, we are able to monitor all these parameters, where the packets are getting lost, how is the link quality, what kind of latency, that is, how much time it is taking to reach the destination and then come back, and what kind of jitter is there in the packets. By analyzing these parameters, we are able to efficiently take a decision. We can define a policy in such a way that my network efficiency, if it goes on below 50%, don't use this, you go or pump my data through this efficient link. That is how you will be able to define the policies. Now, all these policies, users, without having much of a knowledge in the backend, about the routing protocol, about the backend routers and hardware, they will be able to define their policies. SAS-based path selection. This is an application-aware path selection. That is, from my lab, So internet conferencing to other sessions. So by knowing the application, I can say
Srinivas sir, if you don't mind.
and yes.
No, sir. Actually, voice is breaking, sir. But anyhow, you please switch off your video, sir, so that it can speed increases, so that voice get great. I think so.
Yeah,
It is getting slow, sir.
Sure. Yeah. So these security, some of the security points which are enabled with this one are firewall. Firewall is basically a device which will be there at the perimeter, which will allow or block a particular traffic based on the policies what you define. You can define saying that traffic coming from YouTube should not be allowed to my network. So you can write a rule in the firewall, so it will block that particular traffic coming into that. So this is one of the security service which will be enabled in SD-WAN, secure SD-WAN features. VPN, we have discussed about this virtual private network. It will establish a secure tunnel from source to destination over a public internet. WAN path controller, WAN acceleration. WAN acceleration is typically the telecom links what are available with us will have a limited bandwidth. For example, your lease lines could be 10 Mbps lease line or 20 Mbps lease line, where you are able to transmit 20 Mbps of data at a point in time over this link. But when the requirement is to send large volumes of data, there are technologies available called WAN acceleration technologies, which will enable, there are multiple options available in WAN acceleration, with which the high volume of data can be pumped through a low bandwidth pipe. So though you have 100 Mbps of data available, still you can route that 100 Mbps of data through a 20 Mbps lease line. We will see in the subsequent slides what kind of WAN acceleration options that are available, how it will do that. And there is IPS, that is called intrusion prevention system, web filtering, web content filtering, anti-malware, data leakage prevention. This is another important service which is available as part of SD-WAN. Data leakage prevention is for most of the commercial organizations, enterprises, when they communicate over internet, the biggest threat is the confidential data, important data, which is belonging to their organization, should not be accessed by anybody else, even by hackers, or even if somebody intrudes into our network, they should not be able to access this data. That is the requirement for many organizations. Now, this data leakage prevention enables such provisions where once you define a data is secure, nobody will be able to even copy data from the particular place to another place. They will not be able to send this data through mail. They will not be able to do a screenshot of that particular data. They cannot copy this data through USB drives and other things. So all those restrictions will be imposed onto this data, and you are able to securely make the data available for that organization within that organization. For example, if I keep some data in my laptop, and if I enable a data leakage prevention policy on my data, so this data will, as per the policies, will be very reliably available in my own laptop. Even if somebody gets connected, though my laptop is connected to internet, and some hacker comes into my laptop and then hacks my laptop, he will not be able to still access my data or copy this data. That is how the data gets protected here. And then advanced threat protection. These are all few security features which are typically used in the secure SD-WAN functionality. And when we keep doing various surveys, what are all the reasons, most compelling reasons why organizations need to adopt or look for the secure SD-WAN solution? These are all the top reasons which we come across. I feel they are very important for the people and students to understand why we need to, when we look at any particular technology, we need to know why it is so significant, what is the importance of that, accordingly we can pay our interest and attention towards that. And these are some of the top reasons where people have noticed. The first and foremost point is security improvement over traditional WAN, increased bandwidth. We have seen how the bandwidth gets increased because you are able to utilize multiple links in the backend, so you have a better bandwidth. Otherwise, having a single large bandwidth is too difficult, too expensive. When I wanted to have a one single gigabit line, leased line, that is too expensive for me to take a single gigabit line. Whereas when I club multiple links and then increase my bandwidth, so at a low cost, I'm able to get higher performance, that is increased bandwidth. And simplified management, because to manage this network, you don't require a deeper knowledge about the network management. Even people with a basic understanding about the networks will be able to manage this. Increased automation capabilities. There are a lot of activities which can be automated. The moment it is software defined, it is tagged to the software defined, you have got all the flexibilities of a typical program, typical coding, what can bring it to a service. So you will be able to do a lot of automation activities into that. Automation in the sense, you can define all these policies automatically in the backend without any manual intervention. That significantly reduces the human intervention and then increases the precision and accuracy of the network access. Increased usage of public cloud services, centralized control and configuration. As we have discussed some time back with zero-touch provision kind of concepts, you are able to deploy SD-WAN across the globe, even for thousands of the branches, with a minimal effort. By just within, there are occasions where we have deployed to across thousands of the branches within a span of 3-4 days time. Typically, to establish a 1,000 branch network, it takes weeks together for us to physically deliver the devices, configure them, establish the connectivity, test the connectivity, configure those devices. All those things takes relatively longer time. Now people are looking at a very fast rollout of the branches. So that is the increased speed. Service level improvements. We are able to define the SLAs. We can define the uptime. We can say that by the moment performance goes below 70%, 80%, or whatever threshold limits you define, it will go to the reliable links. So we are able to define certain service levels because you know the underlying parameters in depth. And there is a cost reduction which is possible. That is another reason why people look at that. How cost is getting reduced? Because you are able to use low-cost links like LTE links or broadband links or low-cost connectivity mechanisms, and then still have a reliable communication over that. That is how you are able to reduce the cost. And centralized monitoring and management improvements, policy-based path and routing selection. So you are able to define the policy for your applications, what path to choose, how for applications, for what applications, what kind of path to be chosen. You are able, user is able to define. You have a defined policy available for that. Application level management for traffic, because all the as this is software defined, it is application aware. It knows the application, which application needs to be given high priority, which application needs to be given lower priority. Agility of deployment, that is, you are able to deploy at a much faster pace. Provide network connectivity to locations where MPLS was not available. This is another use case. When somebody wants to establish a WAN, establishing MPLS is very costly affair. You need to dig this fiber cable from place to place, and then managing that reliable link is very expensive. Even MPLS links are not available across all the geographies. Service chaining, significant number of robo locations. Robo are basically remote office and branch office locations. When the number of branch offices and remote offices are too high, so rollout using SD-WAN is much easier. So what are all the components of SD-WAN, how it works broadly? Here there is a diagram which is shown. Here you have the remote and branch offices available. Campus sites are there, data centers are there, and regional hubs, various offices which are spread across various parts of the globe. They are there. And they are all getting connected through the available links. It could be MPLS link, it could be internet lease line, it could be 4G LTE connection, it could be a satellite connection. Irrespective of the transport layer which is behind, they can get connected. And the components of SD-WAN are a management portal for any enterprise. This management portal basically gives a centralized management for across all these locations. From this management portal, you are able to configure the policies, you are able to define the requirements. So instead of a branch level, a distributed configuration, you are able to make a centralized configuration. This is a significant enhancement for SD-WAN. And you have a SD-WAN controller, which basically it is a control plane. This controller will be able to route the traffic across multiple. You are defining the policies at the management portal, and SD-WAN control actually implements those policies, whatever is implemented at the management portal. And then you have a virtual WAN fabric that is across all these locations. You will have one SD-WAN edge devices which are there. This is where all the links come and terminate at the WAN edge device. This is called WAN fabric. So all these devices connected together in a single network is called a fabric. In this case, I'm just circling. So all this area is one fabric. One fabric. And optionally, there can be SD-WAN gateways where you wanted to interface with third-party networks, and then other places you will have SD-WAN gateways to get interfaced with. So how it works when we go slightly in depth into the some of the points. In fact, SD-WAN edge device will have a sophisticated path conditioning techniques that will enable the reconstruction of the packets which are lost in the transit, so that they will be able to avoid retransmission. As we discussed some time back, every network, the moment there is a network link available, no network link can be 100% perfect. There can be some disturbances, some losses, certain leaks which will be happening. Though we don't have a measurement mechanism to see that, but that is how some of the packets will be lost on the way, they get retransmitted. That is how the full performance of the network we will not be able to achieve. For example, even in a LAN, when we say my network speed is 1 gigabit, effectively to measure the data transmission will not happen at the rate of 1 gig speed, because there will be some losses, some electrical disturbances, some physical disturbances that will be there. Because of this, instead of 1 gig, it could be 800 Mbps, it could be 600 Mbps, depending on the link that happens. Practically, we never see that link performs at its 100% performance. So SD-WAN has got that path conditioning techniques with which it will be able to reconstruct that lost packets in transit. So that will avoid the retransmission of these packets. So that will drastically improve the overall effective usage of the link. So when the link has to work at a desired speed, at least its efficiency gets improved by 20-30% using this particular technique. And the traffic routing is also available across multiple links. So that's what we discussed. When it is getting routed through multiple links, you are able to effectively see a big pipe. 1, 2, 3, 4 connections. First connection is giving, say, 10 Mbps. Second connection is giving another 10 Mbps. All the 4 connections 10 Mbps each. And effectively, you are able to pump a single 40 Mbps data through across all the 4 links. That is the distribution of data across multiple links which you can do. And link fail, the remaining paths will still help the application to communicate with the destination. They still continue to work on that. And we have also seen the data, how more data can be transmitted through a lesser available link. Because typically most of these links will have lower bandwidths available. Because as the bandwidth increases, the cost of the link also will be very high. So by having data, there is a duplicated. Instead of retransmitting that whole data, it will only send some coded data so that the volume of data effectively can be less. And then compression, data can be compressed using various compression algorithms. So by enabling these techniques, you are able to minimize the transmission of volume of data. So when you have, even if you have GBs of data, using, typically this is required for a DC-DR replication, when the data gets replicated from one site to another site. For example, for banks, for many large enterprises, they will have huge repository of data available in their data center. But for the disaster recovery point of view, if some physical catastrophe happens, the data center may not be accessible. In that case, they need to replicate this data to a different seismic zone, so that even if the site is not accessible for some reasons, the data can be retrieved from the alternate available site. That is how all these cloud services are built. Even in AWS or Azure, all these places, how they are so much resilient, the data is highly reliable because they have the data replication mechanism available. So when data has to get replicated, there will be always huge volume of data that gets replicated. Now, traditional WAN links, which are typically 100 Mbps, 200 Mbps, will not be able to do such large volume of data transfer. So when you enable these deduplication and compression techniques, so that will at least enable to a certain extent a better data transmission to happen. This frees up bandwidth for other application traffic, which saves even more money, as well as it will be a very cost-effective solution. And then creating SD-WAN using overlay. So there is another concept which I will show in the next slide. There is something called underlay and overlay. That is how SD-WAN communicates. In a typical WAN, earlier WANs, you have only underlay. Underlay is physical connectivity from one location to another location. There is a point-to-point connectivity. There are routers, which are basically hardware devices and links. They are called underlays. Overlays, on top of this, you are able to define your network path and then virtual networks. Yeah, this is an example of underlay and overlay. That is how it communicates. Underlay is you have your 4 locations: T1, T2, T3, T4. These are the 4 locations, and they get connected using different. All these circles are, say, different routers, different hops. So ultimately, T1 is able to reach T3 using the intermediate routers and connections. So this is called underlay. As far as overlay is concerned, from the software-defined point of view, it will not even know anything about what is there behind. It will simply know that my data has to go from T1 to T2. In between what is there, it does not. I don't bother about that. That will be taken care by the underlay. So that is how the user simplicity will come. When the user, who is not a detailed or knowledge worker, so for him to work with these WANs and LANs, using a software-defined LAN approach, it is that easy. So using overlay, you are able to define a path over this, saying that simply connect from. So from the software-defined point of view, it will appear that there is a connection available from T1 to T3. Simply there is one direct point-to-point connection available. That's all. In the backend, there could be multiple routes, multiple paths which are there, multiple links which are available to reach the T3. But from the overlay point of view, it will only see source and destination. In between will be handled by the underlay. That is how they will be handled. Underlay network is the physical network responsible for the delivery of packets like your L2, L3, MPLS, or internet traffic. That is the underlay network. Overlay network will encapsulate and enable the tunneling from source to destination, so that it will only see a point-to-point direct connection there. This is another visualization of underlay and overlay. Underlay, you have different routers, different devices getting connected as per the existing topology. But you are able to define your own overlay network as per your defined requirement. You are able to establish a circular path using haphazardly connected routers in the underlay. So this is how the connectivity, the software-defined approach over the network is possible. That is, you are defining a network of your own requirement. You say that I require a network like this from underlying devices like this. Yeah, as we see, they are not in the SD-WAN concept. They are not just packets of data which gets transmitted. They are the applications, because you talk in the application language. You say, I wanted my Salesforce application to be accessed. My Salesforce application require a policy like this. Basically, you are defining from the user language, not the underlying networking language. That is how the simplicity and then manageability comes into picture. It is simple to use, and it has got a better integrated visibility. So they are the typical use cases which are there. In the SD-WAN, you have an encrypted tunnel from source to destination, even on the internet network. That is how, even if the underlying network is not reliable, secure, still you are able to establish a secure connection from source to destination using encrypted tunnel from source to destination. Even on the, not only on the MPLS and private point-to-point networks, even on the internet networks. So it can often increase site-to-site bandwidth at no additional cost, because we are able to use multiple links in the backend. It has got an increased network availability and network resiliency. resiliency is basically even if multiple devices fail in the backend, still you are able to reach the destination and then you can serve your purpose. That is the resilience. And even if it is the internet and MPLS VPNs are provided by different service providers, so that is immaterial to the user. So it will be able to have an abstraction layer over and above all the transport layers which are available, and you are able to communicate seamlessly. So this is how a practical approach looks like. You have a self-service web portal available for the user, and user is able to say that I wanted to have a connectivity established from my Hyderabad office to say Los Angeles office. So he can define his requirement in the service portal, and it gets configured through the service orchestrator backend using the software-defined approach in the backend. So all those things, configuration parameters will be taken care of at the controller level. So, but for the user, like a cloud service, in the cloud, how you define, you have a self-service portal available, you have a orchestration portal available. So user is able to define what he wants. Simply a user gets connected to cloud, he says, I wanted a server of this size. I wanted a server with 10 cores, with so much RAM, with so much. Automatically it gets created. Whereas physically for you to get that, you need to order the hardware gets delivered to you, then not install, then you access that. Whereas in a cloud approach, you simply define, user defines what he wants, and it gets established and then gets configured in the cloud within minutes or sometimes even within seconds. It gets created and then it is available to you. So that is the kind of simplicity why people are more and more inclined towards cloud adoption. Is one of this reason is this. It is able to give a easy approach and very faster and very popular of late. It's called SASE, that is Secure Access Service Edge. Probably if you Google it, you'll see that this is another emerging access mechanism on cloud, which is globally becoming popular.
Srinivas Garu, today I think we are, sorry to interrupt you, sir, we are not able to hear you.
The name implies
Maybe
it is a secure access services. It is nothing but a secure SD-WAN specifically applied in the context of it.
Srinivas Garu, are you able to hear me, sir?
I think he is not hearing. Looks like that.
I think some network issue.
His voice also not coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some network issue is there.
You can talk to him
Yeah.
on the phone.
Sir, we'll wait for a minute. Yeah. Devraj?
Sir, I'm speaking, sir.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Let us speak and we can conclude this for the today. And perhaps we may have to repeat this once again. Today there is a lot of disruption was there. We are not clear. You can tell him.
Sir, Sangamkar sir is connecting, sir. 2 minutes.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Please. Am I audible now?
I think today we had, you are audible now, it's very clear. But earlier, I think there was a quite often there was a break in the voice.
Yo.
So what shall we do, sir?
Okay,
I think
I'm really sorry.
many people would like to hear you once again. So with that intention, we'll conclude in another
Okay.
10 minutes, and once again we'll repeat your lecture.
Sure. Sure. I think I
Yeah.
will just share my screen. We will.
Yeah.
I'll just
We
try
have to
to
repeat this
summarize the
session once
points,
again.
and then probably we can have another part. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Is my screen visible now?
Yeah, it's visible. It's visible.
Okay. I'm sorry. I would have
Your
missed
voice is
a
loud
couple
and
of
clear.
points.
Yes.
Okay. Is my voice clear now?
Yes, it's very clear. Please
Okay.
go ahead.
Sorry. I will. I will
Again, it's
share
going
this
back.
presentation as well as we will try to have another part connecting to this, so that we will be able to get connected to this and then continue this session. Secure SD-WAN brings a high level of security as well as connectivity to the enterprise. It will establish dynamic routing based on the link quality measurements. It will be able to do a link load balancing across multiple links. It will significantly enhance the bandwidth of available network connectivity. It will enhance the security. It will give a cloud-ready access model SSA, as we discussed in the previous slide. And it gives better application visibility, what kind of applications to be given, what kind of priority. And it gives significant scalability. To the data connectivity and the links. and then still be able to run very efficient business applications.
Sir, again, there is a problem with the voice.
I think we can close at this point again.
Yeah, we'll conclude at this point, sir.
And he's sharing this PPT also.
Yeah.
Probably interested participant can have this and generate their questions, and it can be forwarded to you, and from there we can get access to the speaker.
Yes, sir.
And give them answer.
Sir,
very useful session.
Srinivasu Garu, could you hear, sir? I think his network side is problem.
Yeah, there is a problem. I think
his side there is a problem.
Where people also started reducing because of this. Now it is
not able to hear.
25 people already opted out.
Yeah. Srinivasu Garu, are you online, sir? Devraj, can you find out whether he is online?
Yeah, on phone you can check up with him.
Devraj?
Sir, I'm calling, sir. I'm calling.
Yeah, you say that we'll conclude for the today. Then again, we'll have his session repeated once again. I think he is having some problem at his side. Yeah.
What will be
No, sir, you are not audible. Sir, if you are able to hear me, sir, we'll wind up the session for the today, because I think you are having some network issue at your side. Sir, are you able to hear me, sir?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you.
Yeah, sir, for the today we'll wind up. I think even question answers also, even if there are questions, your voice may not be heard, I think. I don't know. What do you say, sir? Or shall I ask
fine,
if
sir.
anybody has got any?
Yeah, if anybody has questions, I think we can.
Yeah, if anybody has got a question, try, if the network supports, we can go ahead. Otherwise, we'll close the session for the today. Anybody has got any question?
So I will also share this presentation to the IET team, sir, so that it can be shared to the participants.
Yeah. Sir, thank you, sir, for your excellent presentation. And today we have practically seen the effect of bandwidth, how it affects.
Yeah, correct. I think this is a live example where we
live demonstration it was going on. So
correct,
I think perhaps this whatever technology we are presenting, that should be soon made accessible to everyone, and it may help. So I request our Dr. Venkateshwarlu to deliver a vote of thanks. And I'm sure, sir, we'll be having once again this session, sir. Because even I could not hear much of your topic because of the network issue. Sir Venkateshwarlu
Very
garu.
good afternoon.
Yeah.
Very good afternoon. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. First of all, I'm very, very thankful to Harjinder Singh Bhatia, sir, for today's chief guest. Having made his, we are just fortunate to have his presence throughout with lots and lots of enthusiasm and questioning. And sir, we are truly blessed today. Thank you so much for being chief guest and blessing us. And with all the dignitaries of so many stalwarts in this, today's speaker, I thank you, Srinivasa Gorti, Director Technical, Akshara Enterprises Private Limited. I have come across lots of new technical jargon, which students also probably might have got a new terminology, because we are okay with regular computer network terminology, but there is all new terminology has come up. I brief up, probably it's also a big brief up actually. I hope I am able to catch it up. He has compared with the traditional WANs, where in terms of troubleshooting and connectivity and scalability is the biggest issue in traditional WANs when it comes to the latest requirements, link and quality management, flexibility of parameters like bandwidth, troubleshooting by self, and traditional this requires an expensive one, while the SD-WAN is really scalable and is self-manageable, dynamic routing based approach, and goal is to have the link connectivity of the background issues. And basically, as with the diagram show, public cloud, Office 365, how this scenario is in fact SD-WAN different from regular wide area networks. And he highlighted the intelligence to identify the link quality in SD-WAN applications which are time sensitivity, like today's video conferencing or webinar. Actually, we tested it directly with this concept. SD-WAN understands the continuity between the source and destination. SD-WAN enables smooth transition, and then has a link, even in spite of link failures, it gives us the connectivity. And in India, across around 150 WANs migrated to SD-WAN, and SD-WAN applications in like telemedicines and increased need to secure SD-WAN. Then the secure SD-WAN actually is more about NGFW. This is a new terminology I have come across, which is next generation firewall. Then effect of SaaS adoption. Again, I have seen this new terminology, SaaS, meaning software as a service, which instead of installing the new software physically, you can directly download it directly from the application software, reduce the WAN cost, and also zero touch deployment. Then features of the SD-WAN, such as routing, the link load balancing, link quality status check, then packet loss, latency, jitter, SaaS based path selection. Then there are like reasons for security, increased bandwidth, simplified management, increased automation capabilities, increased usage of public required demand, and increase the services, centralized control and configuration, service level improvements, cost reduction. There's a big list out there, and the components of that is basic components of SD-WAN is the managing the portal, then controllers and virtual WAN fabric. How it works, he has explained in detail, with one interesting correlation out here, which I have come across. In how it works, path conditioning techniques, traffic fault automatic detection and management. SD-WAN uses virtual overlays to extend beyond data centers. I'm not sure, sir. I have one concept here called PDNs, Progressive Difference Networks, which I have come across in my PhD work, which is basically meant for connectivity between latency, to reduce the latency by forming a ring across networks. I hope this could be a bit similar one. Then sir has come across with applications, then use cases. Basically, it's an encrypted tunnel. That's how where it gives the security. Then we unfortunately ended up there with Secure Access Service Edge, SASE, SAS, and there was a small breakup in the network. And sir, very, very, very thankful for your latest technology and your expertise being put here with lots of simplified, in fact, approach from your side. And for the students, it's a big takeaway as such, because this is what they also wanted, the industry also wanted, and you are leading in that. And like Sangamkar said, it's fortunate to have your session once again to have much more into this. And I thank you all the dignitaries for having joined and making this a valuable session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Venkateshwarlu Garu. Thank you all, each and everyone. Sorry for the interruption, whatever we had today. It was beyond our control, but it's an excellent topic and excellent orator we had today, and soon we'll be repeating this. Thank you, sir.
सर, आप हमारे कॉलेज को आए थे, हरजिंदर सिंह भाटिया सर?
हाँ, आया था, यस।
जी नारायणम इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी हैदराबाद में जो वन डे इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस हुआ था, नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस,
आए थे।
आपका फोटोज है मेरे साथ, आपका ग्रुप का फोटोज सब।
थैंक यू।
जब भी याद करते रहते सर।
चलो ठीक है, विल मीट अगेन। ओके, थैंक यू वेरी मच, थैंक यू एवरीबॉडी।